What's up everybody, welcome to the channel. In today's video we're going to be showing you how to fully disassemble and reassemble your Tokyo Marui M9A1. If there is only one specific part that you want to learn how to disassemble and take apart, don't watch through the whole video, have a look at the description and it'll tell you exactly what timeline we'll be doing what. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Okay, so as this is a disassembly and reassembly video, we're going to get right into it. Before we start, we would like to say the M9A1 variant may be slightly different to the M9 or the M92F or whichever other variants they do. We're not too sure because we don't own the other variants, so they might be slightly different internally wise, but just to be sure we have to tell you that this disassembly guide is only for the M9A1 variant, okay, just in case. Right, okay, so the first thing you're going to do is when you disassemble your M9A1 by Tokyo Marui is lock the slide to the rear by pushing this part up, and then on this side pushing down this button, which will allow you to pull this part down. That will stay in that orientation. Now release your slide and just take it off, like so. Next, remove your recoil guide rod and recoil spring by pushing it this way, as I do here. Orient it in that direction slightly upwards so it has space to be removed. Put that to one side and keep that safe. Next, you want to push your hop-up unit forward, like so. Push it back again, angle it this way so it just sort of pops up into that angle so that it can be taken out. Okay, be careful not to catch it on the sides, and it should just come out in that orientation. Okay, to remove the inner barrel and hop-up unit from the outer barrel, you just move this part here, which is just plastic, out slightly to release it. Okay, there's a little pin that sits in there normally. If you just pull this outwards, it could just slide back like so. Okay, to disassemble the hop-up unit, you just take apart two screws. It's literally just that screw there and that screw there. Okay, so if you are disassembling that, take those screws out now. Once those two screws have been removed, the hop-up chamber literally comes apart in two pieces. So that's two sides, this side and this side. As you can see here, this is the spring arm that adjusts the hop-up. That basically just goes onto that this part here, and the little leg that sticks out just goes right into that little groove that's on the wheel there. And if you are doing anything with your barrel, you can also take that off now. That literally just comes off like this, and you can see how the hop-up rubber is attached, where you can just, I don't know, change it over or clean it or whatever. If you guys need to get this weight off, it's literally held in by two rubber O-rings. Okay, so well, silicone O-rings I think they are. So there's one on the front and one on the rear. All I normally do is push this weight to one side slightly so it leaves a gap, and put in a non-sharp object like I don't know, a small blunt tool that's thin enough to fit in there, and you can just lightly tweak out the O-ring. And you know, you could do it from this end, I guess, and that'll release one of the O-rings and you could just slide the weight off. To reassemble the hop-up chamber, all you do is, after you've put the weight back on, if you took that off, is just look for the little groove on the hop-up rubber and place it back on there. Make sure it's in the correct place. There's a slot on the other side, that's this side here. You see that little bar there? And that's basically the hop-up rubber's the piece that was sticking out, the piece of rubber that was sticking out that slides into there. Place this hop-up arm adjuster, I guess, back onto here. Okay, once the spring-loaded arm is on there, you can see that it's in the section there, the adjuster section. Once that's in and you're happy with the alignment, make sure nothing is bent or misaligned, then you basically just put this side back on, make sure everything is flush and correctly fitting, you haven't clamped or crimped anything, and then reinstall these two screws. Okay, once you've reassembled your hop-up unit, you just adjust the hop-up, turning that wheel there, and look inside the barrel while you do that, and you see the little flat part at the top there, that little black piece, it's flat. Have a look at that and make sure it's doing adjustments to make sure everything's working correctly. You can see the inner barrel on mine is now black, as I have just installed a tight bore barrel on mine. Okay, Okay, we're now going to disassemble the upper slide, well, the slide. If you look on the back here, there is a screw there. That is held on by some mild Loctite. Use a fitting one that fits hex key or Allen key or whatever, and then just loosen that and take that out. Once that has been taken out, put that to one side, and then you're left with this part here, okay? Now we're going to remove this and this part here, which is the ambidextrous safety lever and decocking mechanism, and there is a little part there which is spring loaded and it will fly out that way, okay? So what you need to do is just hold your thumb here or hold something there to stop the spring from going that way, or just have, I don't know, something here to stop it from going anywhere, okay? What we're going to do is push on this part that way, okay? That way. Like this. I'm going to do both sides so it's less tension. Just like that, very softly. Don't force it, it should just come up naturally. And then my thumb has blocked that part there. Could you see that? That little piece that sticks out now. Okay, it's now in the up orientation like this, and that little spring-loaded plastic piece hasn't flung out. If you don't hold your thumb over the front of it when you release it, it's going to fly that way, okay? So I'm just going to... Actually, I'll leave it in there, but if you guys are worried that'll spring off, you can use some needle nose pliers and remove that. Okay, right, we're going to spin this until it... turn this into an orientation until it comes out loose, just like that. Put that to one side, and on this side do the same, bearing in mind that if you haven't removed that spring-loaded piece, it's going to be in there. There it is, okay? Keep that very safe, put that in your spares box for now. Now if you look on this part here and this part here, you should be able to see two black screws which are very, very small. These are tiny and can be stripped very easily, okay? They're in there quite tight. I've actually kept mine safe at the moment. Mine have been taken out, so yours should be still in there. You need to use a perfectly fitting Phillips screwdriver, okay? It needs to be very, very small, the head. If it's not perfectly fitting, or if it's slightly too wide or big, you can strip the heads easily, okay? Take that out, okay? Take both of them out. You just unscrew them and keep them very safe, okay? Once you've taken them out, you will, here on mine here, you'll notice that they are slightly different sizes. One's longer than the other. The longer one goes in the back and the shorter one goes in the front, okay? Take those out and keep that safe. If you have an ill-fitting screwdriver, it's just stop right there. You just gotta borrow one or buy one or whatever, you know, and stop what you're doing right now, because it's really not worth destroying those screws, okay? Once you've taken those out, keep them safe. Okay, I'm now going to remove this part here from the actual slide. They are installed much like the high cappers. They're kind of wedged in there, so you need to widen the slide a little bit, made of the plastic slide. Just widen it slightly so it can pop out now. One thing you need to know is the spring and its plunger, which spring loads the nozzle, is here, okay? It's just resting in between the part that you're going to take out and the slide. So when you take it out, it may spring off in a direction. You need to be prepared for that. And also there is a small part here, I believe, let me see, is it, which part is it? One of these parts here which move, it might be that part there, which is spring loaded. That's just resting in there, held in place by its position of where it's squeezed in, okay? Which means when you take it out, that's also just going to flop out or spring out slightly, so be prepared for that. And this is how you remove the part. All I do is I put my fingers like so, widen it slightly. Okay, so I've widened this side enough and pushed my finger underneath like so, so this part has popped out. Right, I'm going to try and go from the rear. I'm coming in from the rear. This isn't working at all, is it? Yeah, well, there we go. I've just pulled out this part here, that part. I'm just going to push it out from the rear slowly. There we go. It's out. Okay. Right. Widen it slightly, and there we go. There's the parts that were falling out. Where is it? Where did it go? There they are. They're both in there. Both the parts that I was afraid that would fall out, the spring and its mini plunger for the nozzle, and this little part here. Okay, just gonna drop them out like so and keep them safe for now. Right, I'm gonna remove this nozzle now. If you're upgrading the internal parts of the nozzle, you can do that now. I believe Firefly do some internal parts for that, and I'm not sure if Firefly do the this part here, okay? But once you've taken this off, you know, if you're servicing yours, you can clean it off and re-grease it, relube it, whatever. Okay, right, let's see. There's a screw on this side. If you look there, there's a screw on this side, and that's holding this plate on here. I believe it should be, yes, I believe that's correct. And also there's 2 screws, one there and one there, and I believe that's holding this plate on this side there as well. Okay, I'm now going to disassemble the nozzle. There's a pin holding everything in, and because this side is slightly more recessed than this side, I believe on mine this is the area where they tapped it in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just find a very, very small hex key or Allen key or Allen wrench, and what I'm going to do is just poke it in the hole, and I've made sure that this key isn't bigger than the hole, otherwise I'm going to destroy it, okay, by forcing it in. I'm just going to poke it in, okay, very, very slowly, and it's just popped out the other side. There we go. I'm going to put my thumb on the bottom here so that when I pull this out it doesn't spring out, okay, in case it does, right, and it's just come out there. There should be a little spring also in there somewhere. Yep, it's in the bottom there, and it's not coming out. Okay, right, I'm gonna, shall I leave the spring in there? Actually, I wanna check quickly what condition the spring is in. The spring is in perfect condition, nothing to worry about there. And I'm now going to reassemble the nozzle for you guys. Okay, so you just pop the spring back in. Okay, make sure it's fully seated. It might take a while of jiggling it about. Make sure you don't try and install it when it's the spring is half in, because then it would squish it. Okay, might take a couple of tries. Okay, as you can see, my spring is fully seated in there, and there is only one way this can go up. It's like an archway. Okay, you can see that the bottom is flat on this part here. Okay, and the top is rounded. So what I'm going to do is hold my nozzle in this orientation. You can see how I'm holding it here, and I'm just going to make sure the flat part is in the bottom there. Okay, I'm going to drop that in there and just work it around slightly until it goes in. Once it's in, I'm then going to try and fiddle around with it until it's completely flat. Once I believe the flat area is on the bottom where I need it, I'm just going to poke my little finger in there all the way in to keep it in place until I can completely see that this hole is you know, not covered. Okay, I'm then going to making sure everything is still in place and that hole is clear. I'm going to re-thread this little pin in, okay, just like so. And then I'm going to tap it lightly with a very small and light tool, gently, so that the pin can seat back in. And then I'm going to check for function, okay. I'm just going to look in here, make sure it is still springy. Yep, perfect. Okay, we're now going to disassemble the lower frame. First thing you need to do is remove that screw there and that screw there. Do that with your Allen key or hex wrench. Once that has been removed, your plastic grip should be able to just pop off like so, and the little weight should just come out like so. Okay, once that's out, the mag catch should just pop out. Okay, I'm just gonna let it drop out like so. And there's a little spring in there, keep that safe. Okay, hopefully yours didn't spring out. Usually they stay in, they should be fine. Okay, do the same with the other side. Remove the 2 screws and the grip weight. Okay, once you've removed the grips and the weights, put them to one side, keep them safe. I'm now going to push on this button here, on this side with my finger, just like so. That will release this side to be able to be pushed upwards. Okay, like so. Once you've pushed it to this orientation, that should just pop out like so. Okay, nothing holding that in. On this side there is a spring, so I'm going to turn it over so it's facing up and just pull on that and leave the spring inside. Drop it out and keep them safe. Okay. Okay, to remove the slide catch, what you do is turn your frame over to this side where you can see this little spring leg here, and what I'm going to do is just use a very small flathead screwdriver and softly push this spring leg up and use my finger to push it over to the side. It should come over to the side, this side, and fall underneath it like I just did there, and you'll see this leg on the bottom. Okay, then you should be able to just turn this up and it should just come out and the spring should be inside. Okay, you can now just take this spring out by lightly pulling it up in that direction. The reason we suggest removing the slide catch in this manner is because the spring that I just took out is very, very soft. Okay, and if you just you could easily just pull it up and angle it out and then just tweak it out. But what we find is that spring can be bent or damaged easily and warp. So it's best to follow the way that we've shown here. Okay, now normally to release the hammer and hammer spring and all this mechanism, I believe people normally tap that pin out there. I guess everyone disassembles things differently, but what I do is just put my fingernail underneath here and just pull that part out. You see how that just popped out? Put my 2 fingers here to stop the hammer from flying off, just in case it does. I'm just going to pull this part out like that. Put that to one side, and your hammer should just fall out slowly on this way, okay, which releases all the tension on that pin. So all you do now is just, I don't know, poke it out with something and it should just fall out freely like that. This little, I don't know, lanyard retention ring or whatever comes up that way, and the, just make sure this doesn't spring off, the hammer spring and plunger is in this part here, which is very heavy. Very heavy. Okay, put that to one side. Okay, this is where the real fun begins. Let's start taking apart the internals of the lower frame. Right, first of all, get yourself some needle nose pliers, and there is a little tiny little oddly shaped spring here. Its leg is hooked into there, goes around here, hooks around, goes up, and just falls into a little crevice on this bar here. Okay, I like to just you know, pull this part of the spring down this way so it just springs off like that. Okay, well, you can do it with your hand. You can just pull it down and hook it out. It'll just come out. That was quite clumsy because I'm trying to do this on camera. Keep that very safe. Next thing I like to do is, you see this little pin here on this side. You see the little head where there's no crevice. This, if you have your frame in this orientation, just punch that out. Okay, you should be able to just push it out in that direction. I'm just going to do it with this screwdriver here, and it should just be able to pull out like so. Put your finger here just in case something springs out, but usually it doesn't. Okay, now that this part's out, keep that safe also, and now you're left with this part here. Okay, we're now going to remove this bar here. Okay, I'm going to use a screwdriver. Right, we're going to have to get really close for this, and we're going to need more lights, please. Right, now if you look into that part there, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's a little black, what looks like an O-ring there. Okay, that's a little wheel. Okay, what it is it's got a little spring. Okay, let me just try and replicate this for you guys. Let's say there's a little ring piece here like that. The black O-ring that you saw is a ring like that. Let me just try and find something. Let's say it's this part here. Okay, there's a bar that goes along here, and there's a spring that's just hooked onto it. Okay, what we're going to try and do is use a very small flathead screwdriver, and just unhook the spring and pull it to the side. Okay, it's the best I can do here, so you're going to have to bear with me, guys. Right, the top of the spring is here. I'm literally, I've got my flathead screwdriver on it. I'm just tugging it upwards, and what I'm going to do is just flip it to the side. Okay, where did it go? There it is. It's back in its original place. Just going to use some force, push it up, and try and flip it to this side. Okay, so it's going to come up and over into this little crevice there. It's very difficult to capture. I'll try and do it again. There we go. Oh, it just popped out. There we go. Right, it popped out because we took out this bar here. Okay, that bar there. That's out now. We can put that to one side. That was one of the more difficult parts. And this bar here should now just pop out like so. Okay, so I'll just pull that bar out. Keep that safe. trigger just falls out. And if you want to take the this frame out, okay, this part of the frame, all it is that little Phillips screwdriver, Phillips screw there. Okay, if you take that Phillips screw out, then this will just pop out. Okay, if you now hold the frame in this orientation, you should be able to see one pin there and one pin there. Tap them out from this side. Okay, so just put your little tap or punch or whatever on this side, and then just tap them out that way. Okay, once those pins have been knocked out, all you have to do now is just pull this part out. It comes out in one piece, but there are springed pieces with springs on them that usually fall out. Don't worry if you've pulled yours out and it's gone wherever, you know, I'll show you how they go back in. Put your thumb over this side and keep this side covered when you pull it out, and put your finger here as well, just to keep that side covered, just in case parts fall out. Don't worry if they do. I'll show you how they go back in a minute. Okay, mine's already fallen out. I took mine out a minute ago. It was this part here, okay, and that's usually goes on this spring here. Now that can spring out and fly off somewhere, and you could lose it easily. Okay, it's happened before. So I'll just push that back in there like so, make sure it's flush, and put my thumb over this spring here. Okay, that spring will just make it fly out, but for now I'm just going to put that to the side. Okay, I'm now going to disassemble this part for you guys, just in case you need to replace any parts, or just decide to service the internals of this little block as well. Okay, if you haven't already, remove that spring carefully so it doesn't spring off, and that little part that was on top there, keep that safe to one side for now. And what I'm going to do is release this screw here using a Phillips screwdriver. Okay, do that now. Once that screw has been released, keep it safe to one side for now, and what I'm going to do is just remove this this plate on the top here. Okay, this plate here, like so. I'm just going to wiggle it out slowly, like so, keeping my thumb on this part here to not let it spring out. There is a little spring underneath there, it's quite weak, but if it does spring out, you're going to lose it. Okay, keep this side plate to one side. I'm just going to put my thumb over here and on the top here to cover it, like so, and I'm just going to pull this out slowly, so if it does spring out, it doesn't fly off. Okay, there's the spring there. It's quite a small spring, so you want to keep that safe. I'm just gonna take it out and put it here along with that part there. We're now going to release the spring. Okay, we're gonna basically put our finger here like so and use a small tool, and what I'm gonna do is just poke into it from this side like so, and then pull it back out, and that should release all tension on the spring. It should fall down now into that part there. We'll poke it from this side here, just so that it sticks its head out there. You can use some needle nose pliers and just try and grab it out now. Once that spring has been removed, you can put that to one side and clean it and lube it or whatever, or replace it, and then you are left with this loose part in here. I'm just going to let that drop out if it wants to come out. Normally mine just falls out, but there we go. Right, it's just come out, and I'm just going to put that there and assume that you dropped it so I can show you how to put it back in. Right, I'm now going to reassemble it. Okay, so this part here, if you hold this part here in this orientation, okay, look at it closer. This, I believe, is the valve knocker. Okay, so what it does, its job is to strike the valve on the magazine. Okay, so it's a very important part. What I'm going to do now is just hold it in this orientation. Okay, if you can see how I've got it here. Okay, I'm just going to put it back in sloped like that, so that this little notch goes into that little hole there, like so. Okay, hopefully you saw that. See how it's sloped upwards. Okay, it's like a slide. It's going down and it slopes upward at the end. That's how the orientation goes. The small side is on in this hole here, and the big side is on this side. Okay, hopefully you saw what orientation it likes to go in. It's supposed to go in. Okay. Next, I'm going to reinstall this very small spring, okay, into this part here. It just rests on top like that. And then you're going to take this part here and it just rests on top, okay? Be very careful not to clamp the spring in an awkward position. Just going to angle it like that, pull it down slowly, and then release it, okay? And it should be in the correct orientation now. Have a look in the side here, make sure the spring is on the inside, okay? It's not clamped or crimped or at an awkward angle, because these springs could be damaged very easily. Okay, that seems to be fine. Right, I'm now going to reinstall this plate here, which just goes back on, as you can see how I've got it here, just like that. Okay, it's just going to go back on here, like that. And the screw that holds it on, which I kept safe on my screwdriver, I'm just going to reinstall that now. You can do the same. Okay, I'm now going to reinstall the spring that goes in here. Okay, look at how I've got this part oriented. If you can hold your part in the same way, turn it up like this, and if we have a look down here, if we inspect the spring, you can see that one of them has a bent leg and one of them is straight. This is because the bent leg needs to ride along a part, and if it was straight it would dig into it. Okay, so the leg is bent up slightly to allow for smooth functioning. Okay, so this is how we install it. If you look in here, let me just make that part slightly more visible. Okay, right, if you look down here, you'll see that there's a slope and then a hole. Okay, that's where the bent leg needs to go. Okay, it needs to just fall into there. So all I'm going to do is hold my spring in this orientation and just drop it in there. Okay, like so. It's not gone all the way in, because what I need it to do is sit roughly about here, okay, so that I can re-thread this little plastic plunger in. Okay, it's got a little stopper end on this side. Make sure you slot it in from the small end first, and it just once I've got the spring aligned correctly, all you do is just plunge it in. Okay, right. Once you've done that, the spring should still be pretty loose, and you should now see this leg here. Okay, this leg is just loose at the moment. Okay, and what you have to do, the tool I normally use is just a very simple flat head screwdriver. Normally what I do is just push it over this side to angle about there, so it goes out. Once it goes far out enough, I can push it down and back in. Okay, I'm going to try and do that now. Right, it's gone over, down and back in. Okay, so it is now underneath this bar here. Okay, if you look in here, probably, no, you can't really see it. Okay, but it's in there. Okay, and the way you check that everything is correct is you have a look at the bent leg to make sure it's inside that little hole that I said, and the top leg is underneath this bar here. Okay, check for function by putting your finger here and just pushing forward. Okay, it should spring back, and that's installed. Okay, and the final check you need to make is if you just turn this that way, if you look at the little plastic pin or plunger, make sure it's flush. Okay, so you just push it in enough, make sure it's flush so it's not protruding. Okay, once you've done that, that is complete. Right, okay, we're going to put everything back together now. You're going to take this part here, if yours has fallen out, which it usually has, and you're just going to put this on like so. If you look very carefully at how my spring is, okay, see how the spring is the orientation of the spring, that's going to go on here and rest on top of there, okay, like that. So you've got that leg resting on this little sloped part here. Okay, and now we're going to take this and this is the orientation it goes in. It literally just slots in there, and that spring leg just rests into that crevice there. Okay, you're going to have to do that, but with this on the side. Okay, so it's going to have to slot in that way in the orientation that I just showed you. Okay, try and do that now. Okay, once you've done that, next, if this part has fallen out, you just basically put it back on in this orientation, make sure the spring is there. I normally put my finger there just to stop it from springing out, and I push this down until it goes far in enough where I can push it in, okay? And then I put my finger there, and that holds that flush with everything, okay? I keep my thumb on there without making sure it's straight in this orientation so I don't disrupt the spring and the part that has been in there. And I just reinsert this part into the frame, going slowly, and making sure I don't make parts go flying everywhere. Okay, once I've done that, and I make sure all three holes have lined up, that's that one, and that one, I'm just going to peek inside to see if the part's moved. If it has, don't worry, I'm just going to poke from this side. Okay, so my head is literally here and I'm looking that way, and I'll do it on the table. I'm just going to poke it back, that part inside, that loose part, until the spring and the part is in lined up with that hole there. Okay, try and do that now. Okay, once you have managed to reinstall those parts, you know, in a very fragile manner, making sure that they are straight, you know, the spring stays in place, then it's time to, you know, reinstall this. Okay, what I've done is just put some loosely fitting Allen keys here just to keep it in place, just so far. Okay, right, until I'm ready to punch these pins back in. And when you're ready, remove your Allen keys or whatever you use to hold it in place and just punch these pins back in. Next, slide the frame back on the front there like so, and reinstall this screw that was holding it in. It goes there. And next you want to reinstall your trigger. All I do is just slot it in from the bottom here until this this hole here lines up with this hole here. Do that now. Okay, once you've done that, hold the trigger in place with your thumb and your fingers and take this spring here, and what we're going to do is just drop it into this side here. Okay, there's a gap here, that's where the spring goes. Okay, this is the orientation you need to hold it in. You see how I've got this part, the long straight piece facing forward, it's on that side. Okay, I'm just going to drop it in there like that. And that's basically the orientation you need to hold it in. So what I'm going to do is just push it down with, I don't know, a tool or a screwdriver, so it sits kind of in roughly the place I need it to. If it's not, I'm just going to move it back a bit. There we go. There we go. That's about roughly the place I need it. And what I'm going to do now is retake this pin here. Okay, that's this pin here, and just insert it from this side. Okay, right, I'm just going to push this spring down. Oops, very fidgety. Okay, all right, there we go, and it's gone through. Just going to push that forward. Let me see, yep, the trigger needs to go up a little bit. There we go, and I've just pushed it in place and everything's perfect. Now you want to take this part here, hold it in this orientation like so, okay, like how I have it here. What I'm going to do is just hold this up this way, and it's just going to slot in from this side into that little hole there. Okay, hopefully you could see that, and it's just popping its head through there on this side. Okay, as you can see, it's pushing against the spring, okay, the hooked spring that we just installed. I'm just going to pull it up, the spring up a little bit to allow it to go in to hook over the top. Okay, now after you've done that, have a look on the rear here. You can see how this side of that bar is sticking out. That's because of this internal part here. Okay, try and focus for me, please. There we go. Right, I'm just going to push this forward, and that will just pop in like so, and that rests on top of it. Okay, once that's in, you then take this screw here, Not screw, sorry. If I keep saying screw and I mean spring, you get the picture, guys. Okay, sorry. This basically just threads into that little hole there, and you just pull this part down and it should go into the little crevice at the top. There's a crevice in that bar there, which this spring goes into, and then you just push this part here up until it goes in there. Okay, once it's in, should be fine. I'm going to install the hammer next. I'm just going to put the this hammer here like this in this orientation. I'm just going to thread it down. Okay, right. Have before you do anything, have this part ready. Okay, this is the part that's going to hold your hammer in place. I'm just going to push down and kind of angle it until it's roughly in the correct place. I'm just going to pull the trigger very slightly. Oh no, the hammer's in the way of the trigger. I'm just going to let the trigger go slightly like that. Okay. Once it's all lined up, I'm just going to push this in. Okay, like that. Okay, so there's no hammer spring, so it's not gonna cock or fire or anything. Yep, there we go. It's fine. Okay, I was just checking that I haven't got it in an awkward position. Right, now now I'm going to install this part. Okay, if you've taken your spring and the plunger out, it just goes, you just put the spring in first and then the plunger on top of that, and this little plastic half pin holds the plunger in. Okay, it's very heavy, as I said before. Very impressed with the weight of it. It's just going to go forward like that. Okay, just going to push forward slightly, hold it in place with my thumb, push this I think it's a lanyard thing in that orientation so the hole lines up, and re-push this this little pin in. Okay, yes, like so. Right, check for function. Yep, it works. Happy with that. Okay, we're now going to reinstall the slide catch and slide catch spring. For this, you're going to need your slide catch spring. Thread it into this little hole here. There's a little hole there, like so, so that it is just resting, and the little head of the spring is just poking out there. Okay, I'm going to insert the slide catch so it just rests on there like so. Hold on to the slide catch in that orientation, and what I'm going to do is just try and ease the spring upwards so that it can literally just fit into the little crevice there. Okay, like so. Alright, so what I've just done is just moved the spring over so it's in this little crevice there, and then gonna move the slide catch up very slowly and allow it to go forward, and then I'm gonna push it in this orientation upwards so it can go in and down. I'm gonna recheck for this leg, make sure it's still poking out there. If so, you have just installed it correctly. Okay, check for function. That's good. Next, we're going to reinstall these parts that go in here. I'm just going to turn the frame over to this side and then get the little spring that goes in there. Hopefully you kept that safe earlier. Okay, the little spring just rests in that little round part there, like so. And then this this part here just goes on top of it, like so. Check for function, it should be springy. I'm then going to hold my finger on top of it, turn it over to this side, push this part here. Okay, just put that back in like so, turn it upwards, keep my finger pushing on this part here, and then just turn it back like so. Okay, next we're going to reinstall the grips that goes on this side here. Just put your weighted parts back on, and let me see, get your grip, one-sided grip, clip it back on here, make sure it's flush and flat, and use 2 of those hex screws and just reinstall it back on. Once that grip side has been installed, turn it over, and we're going to reinstall the magazine catch, which is this part here. Turn it in this orientation, make sure this spring is still inside. It just kind of slots in like that. Push it forward so that it rests on the little part that sticks out. Check the spring works, and then reinstall this side of the grip. The weight goes on first, as you know, and the plastic grip goes on top of that. And the final 2 hex screws that you removed first go back on. Do that now. Okay, we're now going to reassemble the upper slide, or just the slide, and it's I think this is the blowback unit they call it, or whatever. Right, okay, so if you hold this unit in this orientation here, you'll remember that we had this little piece that came from it, and it has a little spring there. It's a little spring-loaded piece. See how I'm holding it, like this. I'll just give you a better view. If you can see it there, the spring is on this side, and you know, that's how the piece is angled, like that. Okay, hold it in this orientation, and it just rests on top of here, like that. Okay, like that. So it's spring-loaded in this orientation. You see that? And we're just gonna let it rest on top of there, like that. That's how it seats. Okay, hopefully you can see that clear enough. I'm going to push this around this side, and this little spring and its plunger goes on top of here, like so. Just rests on top of there, like that. Okay. Before we do that, we've got to put this put the nozzle back on. Make sure yours is not completely caked, but has a little bit of lube on it, I guess. Okay, I'm gonna put that on first, like so. Okay, if you didn't see that, I'll do that again. This is how it's held, like that. Okay, you've got the little leg there, this big piece there. Turn it around like so, and just put it on top like that. Okay, push it into the rear position, and you're going to put this spring on that part there. Okay, you see how this plunger is there? That's facing that way. Okay, like this. Now, if you turn it here, turn it this way. This is a little trial and error. You've got to try and push this down so it doesn't spring out. Oh, mine went in straight away. Oh, crud. Right, put that piece back on. Hopefully yours didn't fall off. Okay, right, there it is. That's correct. Okay, right. You basically got to try and put that spring on there and balance it in there. Normally it will try and twang out and go that way somewhere. Okay, but mine's staying on, luckily. Right, once that's in that orientation like that, you then basically take your slide, okay, in this orientation, and all I'm going to do is just clamp it back on, okay? Once everything's set on there, you just push this back on. Okay, I'm going to try and do this on camera. It's about there, I think. Should just let me just see. Yep, it's about there. That's about correct. Just gonna push it on, widen the slide a little bit without agitating the spring too much. Okay, now I'm just gonna widen it slightly, pull it on the side. Watch out you don't trap your fingers in there. Okay. Oh, mine's a bit too far back. Too far forward now. Okay. It's about... There we go. And it just clicked straight in. Okay, right, I'm just gonna check if that little piece is in the correct orientation. You have to look here now and see if that little piece is spring-loaded and working correctly. Yes, mine seems to be working fine. Fully spring-loaded, that's great. Now we'll look on this part here, and I'm just gonna pull the nozzle up and see if it springs back. Needs to be nice and smooth. Yep, nothing in the way. Great, and that's how you do it. One of the things you've got to really keep your eye on is this little piece here and the spring, as I showed you just now how to install it. This is a spring that I'm showing you that has been warped. It was clamped incorrectly. I think it was clamped at an angle when it was reinstalled into the slide, and what it did was completely bend the spring, and one of the legs was sticking out, and I believe it may have been caught on something else because it was pulled out slightly, and there was a long leg sticking out. It was basically it was flattened and straightened both at the same time. So you've got to be really careful when you're installing this unit back into the slide. You've got to keep your eye on that spring. It's unfortunately there's no guaranteed way of getting it really in smoothly. Not the way I do it anyway. I'm not sure if there's any other way, but it's really difficult to make sure it goes in straight. But this is just a warning: if you accidentally put it in sideways or bent, you will manage to completely warp the spring. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is reinstall these two tiny little screws. If you remember earlier, the shorter one goes to the front and the longer one goes to the rear. Do that now. After installing those two small screws, it's now time to install the ambidextrous decocker and safety. I'm going to hold the slide like this. Right, this is the right side of the right side safety. So all I'm going to do is just put it in there, in the hole like that, and turn it about till it gets to that orientation. It's about there. And on this side, it's going to be slightly more annoying. On the left side, if you remember, we had this little spring-loaded plunger thing which sticks out, okay? Hopefully you kept that safe. Just check for function. Yep, it's springy, so we're going to reinstall it now. All I'm going to do is just hold the slide like this, putting my finger on that side safety, keep it in place, and then just try and orient this into that direction. Let me just see if it's correct. Yep, it should be like so. That should be correct. Now you don't want to just force this on because that's gonna snap that little plunger there. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is use a small screwdriver. Be careful not to scratch my slide, and what I'm gonna do is just push down on that plunger so it goes in enough for me to push that down. Okay, so once I've noticed that it's gone in enough, all I did was push down and it's gone down. Okay, now check for function. Yep, seems to work. And before you push it back out, be very careful, keep it in that orientation. Okay, we now need to push these both together like so, and just reinstall the screw that had the thread lock on it onto the rear. Okay, do that now. Okay, we're now going to reinstall the slide. Slide the slide onto the rail, push it to the rear, lock the slide up, push this part up like so, and release the slide lock. Okay, and that's basically it. Okay, so that's basically the end of this video. That was the disassembly and reassembly. I really do hope I captured the process clearly for you guys. You know, it was very difficult for me to try and film this because, first of all, it was stainless, so it's kind of chrome, and it was reflecting the light back into the camera, and it was very, very difficult to try and capture all the small parts with the lighting doing that. But hopefully this helps someone out there. It is a slightly more complex build compared to some of the other gas blowback pistols out there, platforms. So you know, I decided to make this video to really try and help anyone that was considering this gun or have this gun, need to take it apart, replace a part, or just service it, you know, relube everything. Hopefully this served its purpose and helped some of you guys out there. It's pretty much part of it, you know, the service and everything. It's gas blowback pistols are not really something you think oh, you know, this is kind of like that model that I like to just take out and play around with, you know, and just leave it, because when something does go wrong, which it may, or when it needs servicing, relubing, or needs a part replacing, it's best to know what to do. And I know that if you've never played with a certain platform before, it can be very difficult, very daunting, and it just can be really not enjoyable for some people. Okay, so this is basically here just to help you guys. I was a beginner at taking things apart. I'm still a beginner at taking things apart and putting things together, but you know, I learn a lot along the way. As I take things apart, and I learn how each platform functions. You know, I really like the look of the M9, and it's one of my favorite looking pistols. But you know, this video is a bit long. Thank you guys for watching. Hope it helped you.